2 were in Turkey, 2 in Greece, 2 in Egypt, and 1 in Iraq. 3 were destroyed by earthquakes and 2 by fire. They only existed at the same time for 60 years, and only 1 still stands, mostly intact today.
They're on many people's bucket lists, including ours. And maybe you didn't know, but that is kind of how the Seven Wonders of the Ancient World list was first created. There were lists before and differences between them, but in around 225 BC, Philo of Byzantium wrote a handbook to the Seven Wonders of the World as a thing you should see traveler's guide. And the list hasn't changed much over the centuries. These monuments were amazing examples of engineering and art. Here's a quick look at the Seven Wonders of the Ancient World.
Let's dig into this.
The oldest of the ancient wonders is the Great Pyramid at Giza. Located on the west bank of the Nile River outside Cairo, it's the only ancient wonder still standing today. Completed around 2560 BC, the pyramid was already 1200 years old when Egypt's most famous pharaoh, Tutankhamun, came to power. It stood through an incredible 4,500 years of history.
It took over 20 years and up to 100,000 workers to build the tomb for Pharaoh Khufu. The largest of the 3 pyramids at Giza, it was originally 481 feet tall. Sometime around 1033 AD, the outer smooth limestone covering stones were removed for building projects nearby, bringing the height down to about 450 feet. It still held the record as the tallest structure in the world until 1311, when Lincoln Cathedral in London was completed. There are an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks in the structure.
The Great Sphinx, the largest monolith statue in the world, serves as a guard to the complex, which also includes 3 small pyramids for Khufu's female relatives and the pyramids of his son and grandson, cemeteries, and worker village remains. The area has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1979.
A huge renovation project is modernizing the site. A new visitor center has opened, and easier access for the disabled has been implemented. And in 2021, a restaurant was opened for the first time right on the Giza Plateau. If you're lucky enough to visit, pack your patience. Over 14 million tourists visit the Great Pyramid every year, making it one of the most visited sites in the world.
The ancient city of Babylon was built on both sides of the Euphrates River in present-day Iraq and surrounded by walls, bridges, and moats. But the exact placement of the Hanging Gardens is not known. In fact, the debate on whether the Hanging Gardens ever actually existed has gone on for many years. It's the only ancient wonder on the list that we really have little evidence ever existed, and there are no first-hand accounts or records. It is said that by the time Philo wrote his list of the 7 wonders, the gardens may have already been gone for over 500 years.
Legend says the gardens were built by Nebuchadnezzar II in around 600 BC for his wife, who missed the beautiful gardens of her home in Persia. The gardens would have been an engineering miracle, containing flowers, fruit, trees, and other exotic plants. It was built on multiple levels, in shady nooks, and in peaceful walkways. It is believed a system of waterfalls and water wheels from the Euphrates irrigated the gardens. We can never really know how they looked, but many beautiful works of art imagine the hanging gardens. We also don't know how or why the gardens disappeared, if they did once exist.
The Euphrates River has changed its course over the centuries, and today the ruins of the ancient city of Babylon are located about 50 miles south of Baghdad on the east side of the river. Named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2019, the archaeological site is not considered accessible due to its location and the politics of the region. Unfortunately, no remains of the Hanging Gardens have been found at the site yet.
The Temple of Artemis was built in Ephesus, Turkey, to honor the Greek goddess of the hunt, nature, animals, and children. The original temple was supposedly built by the Amazons, the famous women warriors. There were 3 temples built on the site that had been used for centuries before the temple was built.
The first version was destroyed by flood in the 7th century BC. In about 550 BC, a new temple, the first Greek temple built of marble, was built on the site. At 377 feet long by 151 feet wide and 40 feet high, with 37 columns, it was huge. The ebony statue of Artemis and altar completed the site. Archaeologists have found more than 1,000 items from this temple, including early coins made from electrum.
In 356 BC, this temple was burned. Sources say the wood ceiling beams were set on fire by Herostratus, who wanted to be famous. It is said the temple burned when Alexander the Great was born July of 356 BC, and Artemis was too busy with his birth to save the temple.
The third and final temple was built 450 feet long, 250 feet wide, and 60 feet tall. More than 125 columns surrounded the temple, which was decorated with carvings and held paintings and religious works. There are stories that say the Apostle John prayed at the temple and it fell down, but historians believe it was destroyed in 268 AD by the Goths.
The site of the temple was discovered in 1869 and excavated by John Wood from the British Museum, which displays many of his finds in their Ephesus room. The site of the Temple of Artemis has 1 column, which was reconstructed by Austrian archaeologists. The rest of the site is unprotected and not currently part of the Ephesus ruins, located a short distance away.
The statue of Zeus must have been an incredible sight. Greek sculptor Phidias created the statue at the Temple of Zeus at Olympia, Greece, to celebrate the Olympic Games.
It was built with a wood skeleton, and Zeus, seated on a throne, nearly touched the roof of the temple at 41 feet high. Descriptions say a wood substructure was covered with panels made from ivory and gold. Zeus wore a crown of olive branches and sandals made of gold and a robe made of glass, carved with animals and flowers. In his left hand was a scepter topped with an eagle, and in his right hand he held a small golden ivory statue of Nike, the goddess of victory.
Precious stones and metals were used throughout the statue, and the floors in front of Zeus were made from black tiles surrounded by marble to create a reflecting pool that held olive oil, which was constantly used to coat the entire statue.
There are several different stories of the destruction of the statue of Zeus. One says Roman Emperor Caligula ordered the statue be brought to Rome, the head cut off, and Caligula's head put in its place. Supposedly, when Caligula gave this order, the statue started laughing so hard that all the wood substructure collapsed. Caligula was assassinated before his order was carried out.
Other stories say the statue was taken to Constantinople and destroyed by a fire there, or was destroyed when the Temple of Zeus burned in 425 AD. Olympia was prone to earthquakes, floods, and landslides, and most historians believe the temple was destroyed and covered by mud. The area is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the Archaeological Museum of Olympia houses the amazing finds from the temple.
Mausolus was the ruler of Carnia, now located in Turkey, for 24 years when he died in 353 BC. His wife, Artemisia, who also happened to be his sister, was so devastated by his death that legend says she drank water mixed with his ashes and ordered a mausoleum to be built for him by the best artists of the time. This building is where the word mausoleum originates.
Built on a hill overlooking the capital city of Halicarnassus, the white marble building was 135 feet high and had 3 separate layers. The base layer had a stairway, guarded by carved lions, leading to a platform with statues of gods and goddesses, and a square building covered in bas reliefs showing battle scenes. The second layer had 36 columns, with statues in between each supporting the third layer. A pyramid roof almost 1/3 of the total height of the entire building. On top of the roof was a 20-foot-tall 4-horse chariot with statues of Mausolus and Artemisia, who died 2 years after her husband.
The mausoleum was turned into ruins by an earthquake between the 13th and 15th centuries, and most of the materials were looted for other buildings. Records show that by 1404, only the base was still recognizable. In 1852, archaeologist Charles Thomas Newton began the search for the remains. Over the next several years, he found a 6½ foot broken stone wheel from the chariot at the top of the building, and the statues of Mausolus and Artemisia. Some of his finds can be seen in the British Museum. The island of Rhodes in the Mediterranean is a popular tourist destination today. The medieval old town of Rhodes is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and of course, the Colossus of Rhodes was built there to celebrate the Rhodian victory in a war and honor the sun god Helios. It was the last of the 7 wonders to be built and the first to be destroyed, standing only 56 years.
It took 12 years to build the Colossus, and it was built quite literally from the ground up. The feet and ankles of the Colossus were attached to a white marble base. Then an internal structure of iron and stone was gradually made, while the bronze sections of the god Helios were cast. Ramps were built around the statue as the height increased, so each part could be worked on. When it was finally finished in 292 BC, it was 110 feet tall.
We still don't know exactly what the statue looked like, and for many years it has been drawn in books and painted in art as straddling the harbor with ships entering underneath. The height and weight of the statue would have made this impossible.
An earthquake in 226 BC broke the Colossus at the knees, and the entire structure fell into the island. Ptolemy III of Egypt offered to pay for restoring the already famous statue, but when the Oracle of Delphi warned the citizens not to rebuild it, they listened. People visited the ruins for 8 centuries, until Rhodes was invaded in 654 AD and the bronze was shipped to Syria. Legend says, on the backs of 900 camels.
There have been several proposals to build another Colossus, starting with one made from aluminum in 1961. The last plan we know of was in 2015 and included a Colossus nearly 500 feet high. It was, we say ironically, scrapped. The closest we can come to seeing the Colossus today is the Statue of Liberty, which is about the same height from the feet to crown and built with the same panels over skeleton plan in the descriptions of the Colossus of Rhodes.
Built on Pharos, an island in one of the largest and busiest harbors in the world at that time, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was a technical masterpiece and is said to be the model for all lighthouses ever since. Started by Ptolemy I and finished by his son, it took 33 years to build.
It was between 340 and 390 feet tall and built of sandstone and limestone blocks. It is usually said that a polished bronze mirror was used to reflect the sun during the daylight hours, but many historians believed this is incorrect and a fire was kept burning at all times, with smoke visible during the day and flames at night to warn ships. A statue of Triton stood at each corner of the building, and a huge statue said to be of Alexander the Great, Zeus, or Poseidon stood on top.
The bottom of the tower was square, 100 feet long on each side, at the base, and was said to have an entrance ramp wide enough for 2 men on horses riding side by side. There were at least 50 rooms in this roughly 230-foot long building, all accessed by ramps. The smaller section in the center was approximately 100 feet tall and octagonal, and the top section was about 30 feet tall and cylindrical, and they both had staircases.
The lighthouse was damaged by earthquakes beginning in 965 AD. By 1480, it was totally destroyed. In 1994, archaeologists began to uncover the remains of the lighthouse that lay at the bottom of the harbor of Alexandria, including building stones, obelisks, and statues. Many of the finds can be seen at the Museum of Alexandria. Thanks for watching. But hey, before we go,
It's a DragonDen shout out!
we'd like to wish our friend Shelby a happy birthday. Hope it's the best.
Hey Shelby, don't forget, when you get that cake,
Let's dig into this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next one.